Welcome to the first quarterly meeting of the Wildfire Ready Coalition of Nevada County. Joanne will tell you more about the name change in just a few minutes. I'm Karen Wislow. I'm the Firewide lead for Greater Cement Hill, right here in the neighborhood. And I was asked to help facilitate the meeting. And I didn't realize that it meant kind of like herding cats. In the last 5 days, the agenda has gone out like 8 times, and every time something's changed and something's added. And so it's a learning curve for me how to facilitate this. But I think we have an exciting program tonight and a lot of really interesting information. You have the agenda. Joanne Pikes-Kaufman, the director, executive director for the Wildfire Ready Coalition of Nevada County. It's not yet running off my tip of my tongue. The coalition will talk about the program updates. Someone turn off the lights.
All right, welcome everybody. I think we have another one to show, the one that I see. Sandy here has done very well with us turning in many different slides today.
Yeah, because that one's actually somewhere else.
Anyway, we've
there we
been
go.
very perfect. We've been very, very busy, and some great things have come out of it. Has anybody seen in Ubinet, heard on KNCO, or read in the Union about the number of new Firewise communities we've helped? 16. There's still a few more that we're trying to push through the last hurdle. One of them was particularly gratifying to me because they'd been rejected twice. And I was able to sit down with them and help them get through it relatively pain-free. So that was a big boost. Very happy about that. And one of the important things is we don't just help them make the application and get recognized. We're also spending a lot of time meeting with the new committees or even old communities with committees that just want revitalization or they have new leaders. And we're helping them figure out the best way to engage people. So we give them one-on-one mentoring. We don't just get them through the system. The other thing that I was supposed to talk about first, but I always say I'm a morning person, not an evening one, is why did we change our name? You know, we had a million debates when we were coming up with this whole organization. And this was one of the names that came up early on. And I'm the one that kept saying, no, we have to have Fire Safe in there because we want to be recognized by the Fire Safe Council of California, which we are. But it just seemed to us that not only was there confusion in the community, that the idea of Wildfire Ready that someone had brought up way back when is that it really matches our approach. Very hands-on, action-oriented, a proactive approach. So, you know, we all want to be safe. There's lots of organizations that are working on that. There's lots of organizations that are working on being ready. And for us, we chose to change our name. And it does roll off the tongue a little bit easier though. The other thing that we've been doing as part of our contract with Nevada City OES to help engage Firewise communities is Kristen Cooker Casey came up with a marvelous barbecue toolkit. And the idea is, well, we all know how to throw a barbecue, right? And we all often get our communities together with a social event to help people learn who their neighbors are so they can help each other out in evacuations, you know, make them want to have fun and go to the work parties together. But here she's got in there the step-by-step that includes key messaging you might use to people that don't know what it's like to be in a Firewise community, what's it about, and also some approaches for doing some soft education. So it's pretty neat. It's on our web. I'm going to use it myself. The other thing that we've been doing, a number of us, is making sure that we're out and about, making the voices of Firewise communities heard and our needs met. So one of the ones is the Community Foundation has COADs and voluntary organizations active in disasters, VOADs. Raise your hand if you've heard of those before. Yeah, a few of you have. So the idea is rather than waiting for the disaster, all of the organizations, Gold Country Seniors, working with OES, CAL FIRE, United Way, everybody gets together ahead of time so that we know what resources are available. And in our case, one of the things that we can help with that Bob did in the river fire is he was able to provide CAL FIRE with a list of names of Firewise leaders. So we are a good vehicle for them to communicate. Also, we have a lot of our members that have resources. You may have a tractor. You may have some ability, chainsaws to cut trees. So for us to be able to provide that information back, here's how we can help. Because we do that in our Firewise community. So we make sure we're attending those meetings and participating. The other one that Casey and I have attended, Casey more than me, and me I've been off and on, but we went to the right one this last time, is Alex Keeble-Toll and Nevada City OES have had for quite a while the Nevada County Wildfire Stakeholder meetings, and they're quarterly meetings, and the fire agencies come, the resource management agencies come, and people like us come to represent Firewise communities. So this group has, under Alex's leadership, has become more formalized, which is important because there are certain grants out there for the Sierra Conservancy is one example that require an organized landscape collaborative process. And this group is there. They're on their way. They're recognized by the Sierra Conservancy. So we're one of the ones that signed the charter the first time it was ever signed. I think that's all I have at this time. So I'm going to pass it on.
And you are going to pass it on to the North Complex.
Are you going to talk about the Red Sky Summit or is that later?
It's up to you guys.
Why don't you talk about it real quick?
Okay.
Hi, it's Kristen Cook, aka Casey. In case you wonder what my Instagram is, it's Cook, aka Casey. They asked me to speak a little bit. Recently, I had the privilege and the honor to attend 2 wildfire conferences. The first one was in Calgary, Canada. It's the IAWF, which is the International Wildfire Association. It's mostly attended by academics, fire scientists, social scientists, and things like that. I went there on my own to represent the road systems that we have in Nevada County in areas like ours. The message, I did a talk. The message I was delivering was how unsafe roads are when all we do is follow the clearance on the sides from 10 feet to 15 feet. That's for vehicle access, not for human life safety. So I wanted to get the message out that we need to be doing a lot more clearing. I met a lot of great people, phenomenal network that Joanne, myself, and the rest of the team are going to be leveraging in terms of knowledge, information, and resources for us here in Nevada County. The second conference I went to 2 weeks ago was on behalf of, you guys have heard me talk about the wildfire smoke sensors we have in my Firewise community, you bet. Our representative here tonight is Heather from No Wildfire and the N5 Shield sensors. So I was asked to go to the Red Sky conference in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago to represent the community engagement piece of how we activate the sensors and what we do about it. At that conference, which is known for a lot of fire technology, a lot of innovative products, again, made a lot of good contacts, and you'll hear more about that and have the opportunity to see some of them live in May when we announce an event that Joanna's spearheading, which will have a tech zone. So those were 2 conferences. One thing I want to say to you guys in terms of my takeaway is that the #1 challenge for a lot of these companies that are focused on trying to solve the wildfire problem one of their biggest challenges is community engagement. And everyone talked about community leaders, Firewise communities, and making sure that, they had that linkage. And do not underestimate the power of your position because it's what they're looking for. So united we stand. With that, back to Joanne.
All right. Oh, I went too far. I have to take a deep breath because this can make me emotional. I grew up in Plumas County to the north of us, spent all my life there. And I also spent a bit of my Forest Service career working in that area. And, when the North Complex fire came and it burned 210,000 acres in 7 hours, went 25 miles. And then following that, the Dixie fire happened that burned nearly 1 million acres. And before that, the Camp Fire. Having been on wildfires for, decades and knowing what was described, and I was actually watching them all the time in the camera, talking to my fire friends, I knew it was going to be very shocking to see endless miles of dead forest, let alone having to confront the fact of fatalities. And I've worked on a firefighter fatality investigation before, and it is not for the faint of heart. So finally, after several years, I had the stomach to go up there. And what I saw were miles and miles and miles and miles of dead forest. And I have always been concerned that this could be what would happen here. And the firefighters in the back there and myself, when we look at the forest around here, we can see in our mind what a fire would look like burning through there. So whenever I'm driving down Highway 49 or up Highway 20 or anywhere out here, I can see in my mind, and I talk about it, the tunnel of fire. But people that haven't been out on fires, it's harder for them to see it, understand what it might be like. So I organized a field trip. And I was glad that Alex Keeble-Toll was able to come, and a number of Firewise community leaders that have been around a while and do a lot of outreach in the broader community. Nevada City OES came, a representative from the RCD. And, I also have a couple of new friends from the Plumas. Bill Jacks is one. And Bill Jacks he's the director of Terra Fuego. And he's the one that's been coming down here a bit to do prescribed burns and fuel treatments for the Hoyt Purdon Crossing project. So I've been out there and burning with them, got to know him. And we were talking about the situation, and he said, you need to take people up there. And he said, but you need to take them to Berry Creek. That is what is most like your situation around Nevada City. So I did. But I'm failing with this part right now. Sandy, can you help me advance that, please?
No, it doesn't want to. There we go.
Okay. So this fire, one of the reasons I was watching it, we have all those cameras now. So when there's a fire, if my son's on it, I start paying attention. He was on this one. I also pay attention if it's an area I care about. So I was paying attention to the fires in Plumas County, looking at the cameras. And because my background is in fire behavior predictions and measurements, I'm always trying to, kind of predict in my mind where could it go. No one could have predicted what this fire did because it hasn't happened before. What happened was there were lightnings. Well, let me ask, were you gentlemen in the room on the North Complex fire?
You can see it from across the we can see it.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And I was in Plumas County at my second home at that time watching it come towards me. But there were lightning strikes, multiple lightning strikes around the town of Quincy, and they got, and up on the crest, and they got most of them out. But there were two that remained, the Claremont fire near Quincy, and then the Bear fire at a little bit higher elevation. And of course, they put most of the resources around Quincy, the county seat, where people live. And things were going well, and the other fire, I know this in part because my son was on this part of the fire. It was in the footprint of, I believe it was the Bucks fire near Bucks Lake. And because of that, they were having to construct fire line where there are lots of standing dead trees, snags. That's dangerous for firefighters and it slows them down. But they were, doing a good job of it. And the other thing to know is that the Feather River canyons are like our canyons. And so they can be quite deep, and you can't necessarily send firefighters to the bottom of a canyon when it might run back up at them. So a lot of times that's not going to happen. So they were watching the fire, doing a good job at the top, protecting the town, and it was backing slowly down to the river, and it didn't look like it was going to cross. But things happen. And so what happened is, no one can really predict when a blow up's going to happen. We can predict a lot of things with fires. We can have a sixth sense about it. We can figure out that it's got a good potential to do that, but no one can ever tell you this is the exact moment or time when it's going to happen. And it crossed the river and then it took off. And I'm going to show you a simulation of this in just a minute. And it went 25 miles in 7 hours, 210,000 acres, and 16 people died. And when we went on our field trip, I didn't know that we were going to talk to one of the firefighters there who helped keep 115 people alive while the other ones were behind burning trees across the road and didn't survive. Heavy duty stuff. Oops, I'm going backwards. Sandy, I'm failing. Okay. So I told you what happened, so I don't need to repeat that again. I just did it. But the yellow is what burned all in one day. That's what we call a progression map. And the colors usually refer to, they start with blue and then it goes to green. And then in one day it hit all the yellow and then, it slowed down and there were just a few areas in brown. So that'd be each day. Next slide, please. All right. So I met a scientist, Dr. Janice Cohen from the National Center for Atmospheric Research years ago at fire meetings. And she is one of the few people that has a fire behavior model that incorporates weather, we call it a fire atmospheric interaction model, and topography like canyons. So it's very powerful. It can show you acceleration where a lot of other models won't. And it'll show you explosive behavior that occurs in canyons. So she and I worked together on reconstructing a fire on the El Dorado to the south of us. And that one I thought was crazy, and it burned 50,000 acres in 8 hours. So this one, what you're going to see here is that it starts slowly, and then it's going to go all the way down from Quincy to Lake Oroville. And there it's crossed the river now. It's crossing the river, and the little arrows are a little hard to see underneath, but those are showing you wind speed, and the colors vary. And I'll put the link to this site up on the web, so on our website, so you can see. What I want you to pay attention to is that it speeds up at the end. Fires don't go 25 miles in 7 hours at an average pace. They build up explosive power and they go faster at the end. So as it's It went there very fast, and also Feather Falls. And you can see it's just going from this huge, huge area, and it's speeding up as it went. Okay. So here we are. And like I said, I had no idea. I thought we were going to talk to Bill Jacks there. And we ended up at the U.S. Forest Service Brush Creek Work Center. And that's just up the road from a CAL FIRE station. And there were, I think, 5 buildings, just a couple of them left standing. And what they described to us was surviving when the winds are 30 miles per hour. There's crown fire coming right at you, and even though your station is cleared on the ground to sand, there's enough power that it's carrying from the dense forest next to it right through and over where you are. They fought for their lives for I don't know how long. Went to try to evacuate the people from Berry Creek. And like many of our communities around here, they had one way in and another way out, all hitting the same road, the Oro Quincy Highway. And they went to try to enter from the bottom, and they couldn't get through. There was too much fire. They went to try to get through the top, and burning trees were across the road. So they're across the road where the burning trees are over the road. They're fighting for their lives. Some of the station buildings are burning down, and they know people are not able to get out and are perishing in a very horrible way. So we took a field trip to see that. We actually went mainly to see the dead forest. I knew there were fatalities there, but then we just had this very moving story. But the thing is, we drove all the way to Quincy. And on our drive all the way to Quincy through the North Complex, we saw miles and miles and miles of dead forest. And this picture here is from an earlier trip that I'd made through Highway 70, going up Highway 70 all the way to Quincy from Oroville, miles and miles and miles of dead forest. So, you know, I'll talk about what the message is here, but can you start the video on the right? We're just going to look at a little bit of this. This is the Nevada City OES team in their car just taking pictures, and then there's awful Scotch broom there too. You can turn it off now because then they're going sideways. I'm not smart enough to know how to edit that part.
I can't turn it off. I can just get the next one going.
Okay.
Everybody look to the left.
The young people gave me the video, but they didn't show me how to edit it. Anyway, it's very striking. And I read an article about one of the survivors at Berry Creek and what they did. They lost their home. They're living in a trailer. And what they did is they put a little deck out and they faced it towards the couple green trees that remain. That's what they did. Next slide, please. So what about us? We have a lot of similarity, and some people say, I hate it when they're comparing us to the campfires, different. Well, it may not be exactly the same, but there's enough similarity. So if we look at the Middle Yuba River, which is the one that all my Forest Service fire friends are most concerned with because there's no access to it, just like the Feather River, it crosses a low part of the crest and it goes all the way down, and it's aligned with a typical northeast or, bad northeast wind or a southwest flow. We have the South Yuba, same thing. So you can imagine if there's a bunch of lightning strikes or there's a camper over here and there's a fire that's going and it's not detected, or they can't get to it easily because it's down so low in the canyon, it could pick up steam just like that other fire did, especially if it has enough wind. But it doesn't necessarily have to have wind, and fire can make its own weather. So anytime you have a canyon and continuous forest, you have the potential to have a big, fast fire, whether there's a high wind event going on or not. Next slide. So what contributes to the extreme fast fires? Canyons and drainages funnel air, heat, and accelerate fire. They go faster. Fuels. Large areas of continuous forest shrubs, tall grass, heavy fuels allows the fire to build up heat, build up steam, and it just has its own mind after that. And then fire behavior builds fire weather. Fires create their own weather with strong winds and downdrafts. And then, of course, we have weather. If there's high winds, that's always a likelihood of a fast-moving fire. Drought and heat waves. So any of those things. So that fire on the right there is one I've shown at many of the talks I've given. And that's out of Missoula, Montana. And the question I like to ask is, what do you think the wind speeds were that day? I'm hearing guesses of 7 miles per hour. What else? 3 to 5. Let's see, they've heard it. It's like it's 60 miles per hour on there, but it really was only 3 miles per hour that day. And that's what developed just going up a little drainage of a hill, probably no more than half a mile or a quarter mile or less. So it doesn't take very much. And the firefighter fatality study or investigation I was part of was on the Esperanza fire, and there was a drainage, didn't look that big, and the fire went 1 mile in 15 minutes, and it went faster at the end. So it doesn't take a big canyon, Next slide, please. So our neighbors to the north are afraid for us. That's what Bill Jacks always tells me, because that's them up above with all the fires that have occurred, and that's us in the red circle. We're just waiting. Next slide. So, I looked at all the fires to the north. I've looked at the ones to the south, and the Camp North Complex, Dixie, Beckworth Complex, the Park Fire. And, the wind is not always there. Sometimes it is, but they all have continuous dense forest. A lot of them have canyons or drainages. Some of them have high winds, but droughts or hot weather, a heat wave. So it takes any combination of these or any one of these. We have these where we live. Next slide. So what is that? You're going to hear a lot about urgency and call to action this year that we're coming into. First thing I want you to do is believe that it could happen here anytime. And if you don't believe it, take a field trip to Berry Creek. Support active management, a lot of it. If the Forest Service or CAL FIRE are doing a project, OES, support it. Speak up about supporting it. And do what you've been doing with your FireWise community, just do more and a lot faster. And have a sense of urgency. Now, I brought with me today a prop. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, I changed my pants, so I don't have it. I had dice. I had dice, and I was going to roll the dice because that's what we're doing every year. Right now, I'm using this opportunity of a dry December to do prescribed burns to reduce fuels. But I'm also thinking this may be another time when we're rolling the dice. So that's all I have to say.
Wow. How are you guys feeling? Yeah. So take a deep breath. You can go to the next slide. One of the things that I've struggled with as I've developed some of the things that we need to do about the situation that Joanne just outlined for us you know, in our heart of hearts, it's a difficult thing to think about. And yet we have to find the courage to be brave enough to realize there are actions that each of us can take to make a difference. That said, when we look at what we do every year as volunteers, you know, we have lives to live too, right? And we cannot keep our foot on the accelerator pedal 365 days a year. We need a rest. What I've discovered is in my community, we go, you know, crazy hard with our community efforts, spring, summer, and then fall, we kind of live fearfully. Every twig that snaps, every wind that comes up, you know, we're on high alert to combat the fires, literally. So what that leaves us is winter. So while winter, we still have to be vigilant and we still have to be thinking about what actions can we take with a sense of urgency. At least we're not in the thick of the peak fire season and we can chill out a little bit. We can mentally take, you know, a breather, and while we're doing our work, we can work at our own pace and focus on some of the things that we need to do in order to accomplish this at a community level. So when we think about what kinds of actions we could take, one of them is we spend a lot of times indoor in the winter, right? And so we should be out there, we should be chilling indoors and thinking. It's a great time to do planning, but it's also time to take stock of how your house is, your structure. We all know that homes mostly burn down from embers, and we all know that, you know, homes need care and maintenance. So if you wouldn't mind clicking, Sandy. So one of the things that we have looked at, and this is one of the campaigns that you will see come out on the website and also on social media. It's a tool for you to use, but also to share with your neighbors and your communities. So go ahead and hit the play button on that. These are actions that we can each take to make our homes warmer and more energy smart and resilient. And they're also home hardening things that will help in the fire season. So we can improve our vents, particularly the attics where heat can escape. We can use weather stripping, thanks Sandy for this idea, to make sure that the warmth stays in and the energy stays in, but it also makes sure the embers stay out. So when we talk about taking actions from a Firewise community perspective, we're also looking at things that are simple to do and not overly complex. But as you go ahead and next one, please. As you're chilling indoors this season, we want you to take a look at your house. The next thing up we have is chilling outdoors. So it's winter season. Before you hit that one, Sandy, taking a moment here. When Joanne talked about the fire, I think what she's taught me over the years is one of the best tools we have in our arsenal to clear our properties and to help our communities is actually fire. I know in my community, we have a lot of neighbors who've moved in from out of area. They don't know how to do burn piles or they're afraid. Last quarterly meeting, we had a nice person ask, why do we do burns? Joanne has taught us that it's best to remove, not rearrange, right? So we want to burn the limbs, burn the slash, burn the needles when we can. So one idea that you guys can do in your community, next slide please, is you can host a learn to burn in your community. You can teach people. I have neighbors who are going to do this for me and you bet on December 21st, which happens to be the winter solstice. So we're going to host a winter solstice bonfire, and the neighbor that taught me 8 years ago how to do the bonfires, she's going to lay it out there. And I already have about 20 neighbors who've raised their hands saying, I want to come. I've never done a burn pile. I've been afraid to. So this is a great opportunity to take the longest night of the year and celebrate that. Next slide, please. And to help you if you're interested in doing it on the coalition website and possibly email, we have put together 2 one-sheets for you. The first one is if you want to host a winter solstice bonfire and do a learn to burn, we have a one-sheet on how to do that. And then a second one-sheet on how to burn safely, legally, and responsibly. And that's pulled from all of the expert resources, such as CAL FIRE, and references their website on where you can get permits. So these are handouts. If you have a neighborhood leader, somebody who's interested or just wants to hold a community, bonfire, great resources for you guys. I, of course, did get a neighbor who has a Santa suit to commit. So one of my objectives as a Firewise leader is to start to get some of my younger families involved. But they, I have to bribe them. So we're going to have Santa come out and a cookie exchange. And I'm looking for, what's my succession plan personally as a Firewise leader. So by doing this, I'm creating an opportunity to build community. It's winter when I'm super busy the rest of the year. I don't go out and shake hands and talk to my neighbors as much as I want. So while I'm not doing the groundwork like Joanne is in Prescribed Fire, I'm building community, which ultimately, when it comes to spring and I want to do work parties, I've built those relationships. So this is a great idea for Firewise leaders. Next slide, please. The main focus that you guys are going to hear about, and this falls into the what can we do about it in terms of the risk that we face. Joanne can underscore this, and we still never believe it, but we have way too many trees in this county. We need to get our lands back to a natural state where the trees are healthy and happy. So to help with this, we're going to be launching a couple of campaign elements. Wintertime is the perfect time to understand what the trees are saying to us. There's no leaves that block it. We can see if they're healthy or not. Next slide, please. So we're going to hold an online Zoom meeting where the trees will tell us what they need to be healthy and happy. Does that look like a healthy, happy tree? It's a nice tree, right? That's the kind of tree you want around your house. So we're going to have a workshop online called A Tree's Eye View. And the trees will be talking to us about what they need in winter, what you should be looking for in winter in order to keep them healthy and happy. I will give you a sneak peek on that. A lot of it has to do with spacing. They need sunlight and they need water. To make that come to life, next click please. We have the second piece of it is we have lined up some forest experts who will be conducting walks in various locations. Anybody who's interested will be able to sign up and go on a winter walk with a forest expert to learn about how you can tell if a tree has invasive species, bark beetles. I don't necessarily know. I know there's something oozing out of it. What kind of tree needs to be limbed at this time of year? How much spacing should there be? So one of the areas that we're looking at with Dario Davidson is Empire Mine Park. So if you stay tuned to the website, and the email will come out later in January that Terry will be sending, we'll have ways for you guys to register. And if you're interested, you can take winter walks. I like to joke, but it's not really that funny. When I first moved here, I don't think I could tell the difference between a pine tree and an oak tree. So I guarantee you I will be the first one to sign up for a winter walk with a forester who can help me. The last piece of it, when you attend that, you'll get a little evaluation form so you can go back to your property or your community with what you've just learned and start to look in your neighborhood to understand if your trees are happy and healthy, because we all want that smiling tree. Next slide, please. Oh, that could go along with it. Next one, please. All right, Joanne, you want to grab a hold of this?
Okay. Proactive, looking forward. So Casey cooks up a lot of these ideas, but I cook up some too. We're kind of looking at the big picture. It's not necessarily just seat of our pants season by season. Things kind of hang together. So one of the things that Casey came up with that I like is the New Year's Wildfire Ready resolutions. So it's not just about taking the time to chill and thinking about what needs to be done. It means putting it on paper, not just your action plan, but saying, for me, my home, my neighborhood, my Firewise community, this is what I'm going to do. So she's got some great ideas for that. Then we have something that's going to start to happen late January and culminate February 13th, which is part of our work with Nevada City OES, but it's countywide. And that is all about a Hearts on Fire event, show your love. And the idea is that Casey's come up with all these wonderful Valentine's Day themes like cards she's going to make. you limbed your tree, you stole my heart, those kind of things. So a little bit of humor to get us, but the idea is show your love for your Firewise community, show your love for Nevada County, show your love for Nevada City, make it be wildfire ready. So it's just another good way to get the message out and to have some fun with it. And so as part of that, we'll have an event at the Miners Foundry and we'll have some inspirational talks, and we're going to feature art by local artists on what they see as portrayed as a wildfire ready Nevada County. So keep your eyes out for information on that. That'll be fun. And my husband is a glass blower, and so is another Firewise community leader here, Heather. And I think we're going to have a live glass blowing demo as well, because that's fire, right? Okay.
Live fire.
Oh, they're going to make all kinds. Oh, we're going to make hearts. Everybody can have a heart, but they're going to make some other really cool stuff. And it could be that people get to donate a little to participate. We'll see. Then we're going to have as part of that where people make a commitment. And I'm not going to talk too much more about that yet. That's kind of a broader community level pledge because I'm just giving you a hint of that. But we're going to take that show on the road and go to different Firewise communities with that. I had a different version of this slide, but sometime between March and May is going to be one of an event that's very important to me. And it's called Too Many Trees, Not Enough Good Fire. And I'm going to have a panel with some of my friends from Plumas County there. And we're going to see a video. I'm actually working on a little documentary right now about that trip to the Plumas, raising funds for that. So I've almost got that taken care of. So there will be another event in March, a panel and a movie. And then in May, well, actually not showing up here, Joanne Drummond is here, and the Scotch Broom Challenge is something that she started years ago. So we need to shift the name a little bit. If you have a good idea, but Doom the Broom is one of them. So we're going to have a Doom the Broom or something like that probably in April. And then in May last year, I just started a very small Ready or Not Wildfire Season is Here event, and we had good participation by Firewise community leaders. This year we want to broaden the scope and have it at the start of Wildfire Readiness Week. I'm sorry, I'm just not a night person. This is always hard. But this time, because of all the connections that Casey made at the meeting she went to, we're going to have a fire tech showcase there. And we'll also, the home and garden show hasn't been around for a while, but for us, it'll be home hardening and wildfire ready landscapes. We're going to have a little twist on that. And then we're going to have again the Firewise Community Pavilion where you see hands-on booths and activities that the Firewise leaders come up with themselves. So that's going to be coming in May. So we've got a lot of things coming on. And then personally, I'm getting major surgery on my ankle, which I'm looking forward to because I like to hike, the 18th of this month. So you won't see me for a while. And I'm so glad, I don't think she's in the audience, maybe she's listening, that we have Beth Shepard that we've hired to help. She's part-time, but she seems to be, getting out of the gate sprinting. So we have lots of good help. All right.
Terry Hastings, that you all know, is going to talk a little bit about the workshop. Several of you asked about that because there's a sign up in the back, and she's going to explain what that workshop is and how you can use it in your community.
Any chance we could turn the lights off? No, never mind. I think I can see here. No, that's good. I got enough light. Not sure what to refer to. Y'all hear me? Hold it up close to your mouth. Can y'all hear me? Hi, so as Karen said, I'm Terry Hastings, from Harmony Firewise community. And, I want to be very clear, I am not a wildfire expert like some of the others here in the room. I'm not a home hardening expert. And I'm not a defensible space expert. I've learned a lot since I've moved here to Nevada County. But it is something that is very dear to my heart and something I'm very concerned about. You all heard just a few minutes ago from Joanne about the likelihood of fire coming to, can you move to the next slide? Coming to our county. It's not a matter of if, but when. And so it's up to us to do the things that we need to do to mitigate that as much as possible. In the last 5 years, we've learned that we are not powerless. There is a lot that we can do. I'd like to take a show of hands and ask y'all some questions. How many feel that they've done everything they can in terms of defensible space? A few hands, okay. How about home hardening? Oh, even fewer hands. Oh, I see a couple, okay. How many people live in homes built before 2008? Lots of hands there. Okay, so that's important because homes built before 2008 have fewer home hardening features than those built afterwards, which means there's a lot of retrofitting that needs to be done. How many of you have done some retrofitting actions? Lots of them. How many have a lot more to do? Lots, still more. Okay. So you're probably doing better than most people by virtue of the fact you're in a Firewise community and your level of knowledge about all of this is much higher than those who are not active and concerned about this. In fact, there was a study out just recently that showed that probably 2% of people have done all the mitigation necessary to actually make a difference when a wildfire comes. That was a study done in Nevada County and Santa Cruz County. So we all know that a home's risk of burning down increases if you don't take those essential actions, the home hardening and the defensible space. Fortunately, we have a lot of information about what we need to do, and we have some incredible resources here in the county providing that information. A lot of them are here in the room. We've got all the folks from CAL FIRE, from OES, Nevada City, Nevada County, and there are more. There's also a lot of players in private industry that are getting into this, and there's also insurance industry that's very interested in keeping all of us safe because they don't want to pay when your house burns down. One of the major players is called the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, known as IBHS. It's independent, it's nonprofit, but it is funded by the insurance agencies. You may have read a lot about their very unique way of testing materials, whether it's for hail or wind or fire. They have this facility where they can test all of those things in these big facilities there. I think they're out from South Carolina or something. You put the mic just a little. Oh, sorry. So you may have also seen that video that CAL FIRE and IBHS did where they have, or maybe you saw it in person. They've done it various places around the state where they have the two little homes and one's been hardened and the other one hasn't. And guess which one bursts into flames? So that's a very popular video. That was IBHS doing that. So the result is that their research is among the most rigorous and scientific that's out there. And so when we wanted to help Nevada County become wildfire ready, we looked very hard at what they had to offer. And they have a checklist, a ready-made checklist. You can find this online, or you can come to our workshop and learn about it. So this last fall, we piloted a workshop based on the IBHS checklist. Joanne and Dario Davidson ran that. We had pretty good attendance. This time around, in January, we're going to have another workshop. This time we'll have Dario leading it, and we'll also have an insurance agent, sorry, from here in town. So he's very familiar with you folks and your insurance situations. And he's also very interested in helping you keep your insurance and if possible, get discounts. So he'll talk about all of those things. We'll take you on a field trip to a nearby home where you'll have a chance to do hands-on examination of what about those eaves? What about that camellia sitting there? Do we need to take that out? What about that branch leaning over the home? Are those vents okay? They need to include those eaves. All the little questions that you all are struggling with. So finally, the other thing IBH does is has a roadmap. Can you, I think it's on the next slide. So where do you start? You know, y'all, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of money. Where do you start? And the checklist can help you decide. They work you through from the very beginning to the very end in a very rigorous fashion of the things that you need to do. Any questions? We have a sign-up sheet in the back. I hope you'll all take a chance on coming.
Terry, is it all day or do you know what the hours will be?
I'm hoping it's going to be noon to 5. I'm still waiting for final confirmation from Siemens Lodge in Pioneer Park.
And can other members of your Firewise community attend?
Yeah.
The question was, can
I
other
can't
members of
see
your
myself.
Firewise community attend?
Yes, absolutely. But I want you as Firewise leaders to lead by example. That's how we make change happen. If they see you doing it, your Firewise community is likely to say, yeah, I can do that too. So lead by example. Firewise leaders, get your committee to show up. That would be great.
Terry, I'm going to throw out there that this might be a great opportunity for you to get one of your educational events in for the year and invite your Firewise community and see how many show up. Let's inundate Dario.
Yeah, that would be great. Question in the back?
The organization.
Well, we're leading the organization, so Wildfire Ready Coalition, and it's based on the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, IBHS checklist. Right, yeah, they have an amazing website with all kinds of information, some of which you'll get at our workshop. But the important thing about the workshop, it is a workshop, and you'll get some hands-on practice in evaluating home hardening and defensible space actions.
Hear that? Is it hear that people that are gonna do those feel like they're
Who is this geared for? Is it people who are going to do this? Yes, absolutely. I think that everybody needs to try to do this themselves before they go out and try to teach other people. But all of you are our audience. All of your committee members are our audience. Your community, your Firewise communities, they're our audience. So we'll be sending out some more information come January, beginning of January, when people are over the holidays and can start paying attention to what else is going to happen during the year. And please forward it to your communities. It'll be a lot of information about what it is, where it is, and what they'll experience. Yeah.
And does this replace defensible space advisory visits, or is it in addition?
So as you may have noticed, it's not called defensible space visit. It's called a Wildfire Ready Home Visit Program. And it includes defensible space and it includes home hardening. In fact, there's about 40 items on their IBHS checklist. And I'd say that 2/3 of them are about home hardening and 1/3 are about defensible space. I think mostly people have been doing defensible space, but we've noticed that, you know, when there's a fire out there, it comes into the town and then it becomes a structure fire. It's not just a forest fire. When it comes into the city, to the town, it becomes a structure fire. And that is why
home hardening is so important. That's right. So defensible space, the inspections that y'all have had, whether in Nevada City or through CAL FIRE, they look at up to 100 feet. The IBHS concentrates on the first 30 feet. So it includes zone 0 and zone 1 and zone 2. It doesn't go beyond that in terms of the things that it's looking at. So that's a big difference between that and some of the other programs to look at defensible space. Any other questions? Well, checklist or the sign-up sheets back there. I hope we'll all see you there.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Joanne Drummond, who's going to be speaking about community connections. Good evening, everyone. I know many people in the audience, but there's a lot of new faces to me, so happy to see you. I am the former executive director of the Fire Safe Council of Nevada County for 12 years. I currently work for PG&E, managing part of their wildfire mitigation plan, so still actively engaged. And I just couldn't stay away. I looked at the good work that all of these volunteers are doing, and I just really needed to get back in the game. When I first started at the Fire Safe Council, Joanne was one of my mentors. She became my friend, and we do really good work together. So I'm excited to be here. And really what I want to talk about is how we create this ripple effect in our community. There was a quote up here of 2% of the population. I've kind of structured my idea of fundraising and events around the top 20%, right? There's probably only 2% of you that are actively preparing for wildfire, but we probably need more like 20% of people engaged in our community. So as you are throwing those stones in the pond, we really need to be connecting with our neighbors, which you're already doing, but we need to be a little more proactive on it. So I think for getting grants and businesses to contribute to us, I'm really going to be focusing on a membership drive. So whether we start with 1,000 people giving $50 a month, if I can get to that 20% giving $50 a year, we can raise $1 million. We need those local matching funds to be able to get those big grants. But more importantly, I think that we really need to demonstrate that we have the grassroots support. When I was the executive director, I said that it was my mission to make you fire safe. I never asked you for donations up front. We thought you would become a member. We gave free chipping, but we would shame you into giving us a donation. And I really feel like that model has been emulated here with the coalition. They have delivered amazing programs to our community over the last year. But now it's time that we need to ask for some money and some financial support. So that is why I'm here. I am the fundraising chair, although I've kind of been roped into some of the events like the Hearts on Fire, because obviously events, programming, education, and fundraising really should go hand in hand. So we will be reaching out. Beth and I and Joanne have been working furiously on a program software, Little Green Light, to get it set up for our events. We're tracking our donations, profiling our volunteers, really excited to use the new computer program and reach out to everyone. But just really here tonight to make the pitch to let you know I'm back. And if you don't know me, you will, because I probably have your name on a list. And I will call you and I will, really pressure you to join me in being a regular contributor to this organization. I do it through payroll deduction. We've got different levels. I think I've qualified to be like a tanker pilot. So I will let you decide, what dollar amount you want next to your name on our list. But I really think that we should all be contributing something, whether it's $10 a year, $100, $1,000, I don't know. But we all need to also pitch it to our neighbors. I know probably not a lot of this group is busy on Facebook, TikTok, all those kind of things, Instagram. But you must have a youth in your life that you can help enlist into our cause to talk about too many trees.
right? There's a lot of environmental causes that the youth like to join, but I think this cause is probably one of the ones that they have no idea can hit them in the face, right? I want everyone to be proactive. We look at the Palisades fire, the Camp Fire, all the other ones. I served for PG&E on the recovery of the Camp Fire. It was horrific, and it changed me as well. But it calls me to action to really make other people understand that we don't want to be, oh, I'm going to give you money after our home is burned down. Oh, what a cause. We're going to recover. So much of this is preventable. You know, the home hardening, the zone zero, thinning the trees. We're not talking about something that isn't, you know, doable, but it does take a lot of hard work. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, because you wouldn't be here in December if you didn't believe that wildfire mitigation was a year-round activity. So thank you for your participation and your diligence, and I hope to be meeting you and getting to you to help me raise some money for this excellent cause and these amazing people that have been giving so much of their time and energy to make it a success. Thank you so much.
And can people donate on the website? Give people an action item.
You can donate on the website with the donate button now. We're feverishly working to get everything integrated for the Hearts on Fire event. I actually got told today one of my fundraising pitches from a tree company was successful, and they're sending us a check for Hearts on Fire. So that was my first one today. Bob's on the lookout, but definitely a donate button on the website. But yeah, look for more interaction on that. And yeah, please, whether it's $10, $100, get your name on our list as a supporter so that we can show that we are the grassroots organization that has been built. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce,
Joanne?
yeah, Bob has a
You might want to
question.
mention that on our PayPal account, our name hasn't changed yet.
Bob wants us to know on our PayPal account that he has not changed the name yet. It's all right, Bob, I'm catching up too. I'm saying, it's all right, I love Bob. No, I'm not firing Bob, and Bob's not firing me. No. I am happy to introduce to you Theo from the Yuba Watershed Institute. And if you don't know about them, you should, because one of the things they do is a lot of work gets done by them on Bureau of Land Management, BLM lands, which is within and around a lot of us. They've also started to do other work, working with the Nevada County OES on fuel breaks. So the thing that impresses me is that they just get work done, they get it done efficiently, and they do it fast. So Theo is going to talk to us about some of the work they're doing.
Thanks, Joanne. And our executive director, Chris Friedel, couldn't be here. He's the efficient one and a former employee too, but I get to work with us now too. So we were formed in the 90s on the Ridge. Okay, we were formed in the 90s or so on the Ridge, and it's a community-led effort to co-manage the BLM land because they didn't have a mandate from Congress, as you know, to do anything on the land. And so this is the primary, these are 4 different projects. The only ones we've actually broken ground on are things on the minimum, many different rounds of work there. And then Little Deer Creek is finishing up this year. So that's Little Deer Creek in Nevada City here. And then the Inman Forest is all these parcels. So this is what was formed the YWI, are these parcels out here on the Ridge. How's the sound? Okay. And then we have another project here, which is trying to get funding. We were just denied by SNC for this, but this is Round Mountain BLM land, and there's been a lot of planning here done. We're just waiting for the funding to do the work here. And that's going to tie in probably with a future fuel break along the south side of the South Yuba Canyon. And there's going to be goats here though, and we're not getting charged for the goats. So Chris hooked up First Rain Farm to do some a little goat grazing. It's not a large area, but he needs winter forage, so that's going to be nice to have some stuff there. And like I said, Little Deer Creek, is just completing right now, and you've probably seen that if you walk the Gracie Canal or something. If not, it's nice to check out. And there'll be some pictures from that later. And then this big project here in purple is a combination of a BLM project and private property project that's called the South Yuba Rim Hazardous Fuels Reduction Project, and the other one has a similar name. And so there's two sort of rounds of funding for this, and right now we have 800 acres of this CEQA planning area is in line for FEMA funding for implementation for an 800 acre fuel break that prioritizes the ridge line through that area from French Corral up to Jackass Flats, basically. And so FEMA exists. We're hoping to get that funding sometime late next year. But the planning area has been done, so people can plug in to this project here. And this was a county-led project that hired us to do the work. I almost didn't give you credit for that, but then I remembered you were in the back of the room. And CAL FIRE does a lot for us to help us do the planning on this. Okay, so that's the YWI, and then I'm supposed to talk about how there are too many trees. This right now is currently our contractors are out there doing our first logging implementation, or I should probably call it a thinning project, but we're leaving everything over 30 inches and trying to create sort of an old growthy characteristic to the forest. A lot of it's an old plantation, and I'll show you a couple pictures in a minute, but we're just trying to nudge it in the direction of old growthiness and survivability, so it doesn't turn so gray when the fire comes through. So this is a map of the Innamin parcels, and the one we're doing right now is the purple. So these units here, and then a tiny little unit up here where there's some really nice big firs and pines in this little tiny spot here. They're cutting here today, and it's been really nice to see it. If you want to go check out a logging operation that's currently underway, you can go out to the BLM land here. This is Jackass Flats, and you can drive down Catahuska Way and check that out. It's your land. And we'll look at pictures there. And then these are past projects that we've done work on. And then right in here, there's also a fuel break that CAL FIRE does that goes from, it's the Montezuma fuel break that also goes out. I think it's still called Montezuma when it goes out at Jackass Flats. So it's interesting to see, I'll show you a picture of logging in a fuel break. So we're using a feller buncher here. It's amazing, and it takes a tree and lifts it and then puts it in the right spot. And then this guy comes and he drags it. This is a guy that operates it, and then they put it into, where's the computer?
Right.
And then they bring it to an area here where they're processing it and they're piling it into a big slash pile for future burning, hopefully. So there are these really big isolated piles. So we're trying to create a mosaic of openings and closed forest. And so we've got, stripping it here into the pile and then putting commercial logs. And then we got the piles here, which Sierra Pacific is actually going to buy, which is a crazy surprise because they liked the dense plantation trees. So I don't know much about logging, and that was really interesting that they actually wanted the really dense, tiny pine. And then this is kind of what it looks like on the ground in the back after it's done before any rain. So it looks pretty bad before the skidder comes through and before the masticator comes back over. And some of the areas look a lot cleaner than this, but if you're thinking about logging, it's not what I thought about when I saw clear cuts growing up. So here is a fuel break. This is part of work that had been done in the past. Not this year, but this had been cleared as a YWI project. And just notice, look for the sky is really how you can just see the difference in the canopy. So not crazy big because there's actually a lot of oaks in this mixed conifer here. But you can see in the background there, you can see very far. And so that's sort of one of the differences between doing poles where you're not doing any commercial timber sales. So this is kind of what you're limited to in a lot of times. And then when you do the actual timber sale, you can sell 12-inch, you can go above 12 inches more easily. Sometimes you can get up to 18 inches in other projects, but this is limited to like 10 inches and under usually. Here's Little Deer Creek. We got mixed conifer with maple, and this was hand cut and pile burn. So the burning has been done here. You can see some of the charcoal and scorch and a lot of leave understory trees because, you know, they're technically riparian plants and we liked the habitat there. So this is really music here. And hoping that when fire comes through there, it'll at least be a little cooler when all those maples are burning in the understory and dogwoods and all sorts of beautiful stuff. Hoping the density will be low enough to not kill all the trees. But so much fuel removed on that. And then I think I put the picture next. Okay. Okay, so this is at a different location. This is a more open site, but you can see this is the pile burn, and this is really hot right in here. But there still were some seeds that were scarified. This is all deer brush coming back, so to feed that wildlife in the interim. And then this is more on the edge of the burn where you get some native Phacelia, and then this is native that St. John's wort stuff, but it's one of our native ones. Not gold threads, but it's a really cute wildflower that you don't see around much. And this wasn't here on site before. It wasn't known to be on the site. The Phacelia was kind of scattered around because previous disturbance work, but it's just cool. One of the really nice benefits of fire is that you get the plants that you don't get with other treatments sometimes. And that makes it sort of, instead of taking away bird habitat and saving trees potentially, if you do the maintenance, you're then taking away bird habitat, saving trees, and making a really interesting understory that we don't have much of anymore. We don't have much of those forest grasslands and those forest wildflower fields anymore because there's no sun and there's no soil heating. Oh, sorry. Are we double? Can I just ask you next time?
Yeah.
I'll get smarter. Okay, this is Little Deer Creek mixed conifer again. This was hand cutting, hauling, and chipping. So that means that we took the chips off site because it was close to a road. And so this is just an image of what you can do without taking large timbers. Sometimes it works just fine to get rid of the trees if they're all really tiny. And the leaf trees are a little dense for what we'd ideally want, but this project, we didn't have a silviculturist at BLM when it was planned, so we couldn't take big trees to thin the actual canopy. But you see here, it's just really dense, semi-shade tolerant plants coming up. And we got that taken care of. Here is back on the minimum. So this is more tree removal. So we're looking back here at these pines to see the density change. And then, of course, you know, the understory manzanita that doesn't really grow very well with pine tree overstory. It's not a great combination. So you can see a lot more open. The masticator came through and kind of cleaned it up a bit. We're probably not going to have much good germination under this chip bed. It's probably going to be a little hard to do prescribed fire in the future, but this is stupid cheap. We're getting brush work and tree removals done for about the cost of brush work. So just putting in a plug for logging here, as somebody who used to chain myself to trees. What else did I want to say about this? How's my time? Okay. So we're kind of fortunate on this Inman site because there are some big trees out here. There are some nice big pines. Some of the soils are moderately productive. And then other areas are plantations where we're hoping we can store it into a nice forest. But just the thing I'm thinking about, there's nothing really smart I can say here, but just the maintenance regime just seems like such the crucial component that we haven't been able to figure out yet. And with like Firewise communities, we have that maintenance regime sort of baked into the community element. Here, as staff come and go from nonprofits, as staff come and go from agencies, the maintenance focus changes and we want to get new acres. And so it's just really hard to know what this is going to look like if it's not maintained. You know, this came back after mastication, 25 or so years ago, slow regrowth. And so just, it's really nice to get some of the trees out in that like 12 to 24 inch class, because then you have like a longer term treatment efficacy, I think. Even when that brush regrows. So here's just some more pictures. I have a bunch of pictures I can show, but I think I open up to questions so that you can refocus on what you're actually interested in. So are there any questions? Joanne.
First of all, when I first met Theo, he did not know nearly what he knows now, and I'm very impressed by that. What made you stop chaining yourself from trees to becoming a proponent of thinning of the overstory?
Yeah, well, as a kid, I thought it was cool to go with my dad. I mean, I was really little. I wasn't really doing the chaining, but that's how I think of it, kid story. It was just looked really sad when they did clear cuts. It just really felt bad. And so it was really just a feeling. And then it was sort of a zeitgeist of like logging is bad. And then since I've learned that like, oh, the dog hair forest that I grew up in, which is just like, I don't even know what was up there. It was mostly Douglas fir, but then it was just, and easy to get through, but it's, it's not like swimming through brush. But so I really enjoyed that as a kid. And so the aesthetic was really hard for me to come to grips with. The thing that turned it around for me was like realizing that small trees don't really provide much habitat, volume wise, it's like the structure. It's super important in some places to have unmanaged sort of like what we think of as wild in my mind for different wildlife purposes. But we're going to have lots of that in the untreated areas. And so that vertical structure is super important. I don't want to forget that. But a lot of the forest used to look for 12 to more 1,000 years like much more open. And when I saw the Gruel book, which is like black and white photos of historical records and current-ish, I was like, oh, and so that sensation has helped me. It's really a feeling thing for me, because when I see something cut, I'm like, oh, we're losing something. But when I go back later and I look at it, I'm like, oh, this actually feels nice. So for me, it's really a feeling. And then there's all the education about like how the forest disappears. Like it's just like a sitting dead forest right now, and it looks really healthy, but it's not. Yeah.
Are you familiar with this area right around here?
I grew up on the ridge.
Okay. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with North Bloomfield
Yes.
Road?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the work that was done?
Yeah, I'm
on
going to get to the
BLM
question.
plan?
Yeah. Well, I'm not very personally, but the organization knows it well, yeah.
What do you think? And be honest.
I haven't done enough walking on the ground to see the treatments to have a good opinion on that work. I have seen it from the road mostly. So there's not
So
much
have
to
I.
see. Yeah. And so so asking about the BLM work that was done out North Bloomfield, is there something you'd like to say about it that is problematic in your mind?
It doesn't look anything like the work that you are showing us. I don't know who was responsible for that, and I don't know anything about forestry.
Yeah, I've actually been out there quite a bit and done inventories there. So are you talking on Brown Mountain or North Bloomfield? North Bloomfield. So one of the things you have to think about is that what Theo is talking about here, and this is why I asked him to come, is we don't always have the funding to do the whole thing at one time. We should, though. We should be getting to the point where we don't just treat the understory and then come back later and thin the overstory. But so far, most of it starts that way, Gary, unfortunately. But, okay, you get it now.
So the BLM hasn't had a silviculturist at their office. And so you can't do the timber harvest. And yeah, so they hadn't until like a year and a half or so, 2 years. And he had some time to get up to speed on how to be effective in the new organization, because he was in the Forest Service, super different organizational structure. And the BLM has a lot of internal rules that make it challenging to do timber sales. So they had to have a staff member who could sign off on the plan, who was a silviculturist. And so they have that now. And that's what allowed us to finally do the thinning work that we've been wanting to do for a long time. Does that
This looks great.
The questions are, do you like the
other-
work that he's showing?
Starts with an
So-
S and it ends in a T.
So you're
If I
doing,
could be honest.
so Gary's saying he's not, he wants to see more. And you're going on my, what do we do from here is we speak up.
Yeah.
And Gary is saying, I want to speak up and I want to see more thinning of the overstory. And you're heard. And BLM, I'm really glad they have the forester because it really is a hoop for them. So he's moving very fast. I think we're going to see more of that. And we're running close on time. So I want to have one more question.
Yeah. I have a question.
Sarah on Zoom is asking, is Sierra Pacific going to take all the logs in the log decks along Jackass Flats?
Yeah, didn't realize I was making an announcement to people more than the room. Yeah, I don't know if we have like an official announcement, but we're working on the contract. Yeah, Sierra Pacific Industries has agreed to buy the log decks for the whole project. So that's Jackass Flats and Catahaska and the other little tiny parcel. And so they are not going to be doing the hauling though. We're working on a contract with a contractor to do the hauling. Some of it is going to be self-loading and some of it's going to be loading from, we're doing it a little differently because we're making these big piles and we're not doing landing areas because we didn't want that large disturbance and all the permanent roads. It was just, it's not what we wanted. And so we have a little bit of a constraint with the self-loader. But yeah, I'm going to get ready to notify neighbors out there that there's going to be some trucks coming through in the future. Because that was a big concern for the road. But they're gonna, on Catahaska, they're gonna put down some rock in some certain bad areas, and they took video before and after, and they'll button it up for if it was their damage. That road's a mess anyway. But anyway, so in case there's somebody specifically on the Zoom who has that issue, that's what I'd say to it.
I just want to thank you again, and it's great to have a young person active in our community, working with an organization. They're evolving, and I think we can expect to see a lot more of that. I'm going to pass it back over to Karen.
Actually, I'd like all the presenters to come on up because if there's any general questions, and since a lot of it's talking about forest management and cutting down trees and thinning trees, Casey, can you come on up and do people have any questions?
First of all, I'm really, really impressed. We've lived in this community like 13 years and we just recently moved from out of town, south of town. We had 5 acres and my husband's chainsaw got it all defensible space ready and then we decided to move. So now we're in a much more urban environment. We're near the high school. And I noticed with some of my neighbors, the whole 0 to 5 feet thing or their huge hedge that's, on their property, but it's really close to my roof. That there needs to be a lot of education, and part of it is there's really not anything out there besides some really stark looking graphics from CAL FIRE of what that zone 0 looks like. And I'm wondering if you guys have worked with like master gardeners, extension agents, local landscapers on how to make your house nice. The house we bought, I think they put in it the most dense foundation plantings they possibly could, and I'm thinking about calling a logger to just take out my hedges. But
So those are great points and questions.
anyway,
First, I would tell you that there's a new Firewise community there, Timber Trails.
No, I'm in Echo
There's a number of them that are coming all in, so you're already in one, is what you're saying.
Like,
Okay,
the leaders are great, but some of my neighbors.
okay.
There's not
So-
a warm and fuzzy feeling towards the 0 to 5.
All right, so what we're hearing, the question and the comment is that they're in a Firewise community and there's some good things, and then there are some people that are not participating. And the 0 zone is especially an issue. So that's a very common situation for all Firewise communities to have that. As far as alternatives, we are, and Terry can talk about this, she's organizing a course with a master gardener that approached us about transplanting plants out. I am not gonna stand up here and tell you that you need to make it pretty and have plants there. All plants burn. I'm of the mindset of zero combustibles within that zone. And we just have to be creative about having something outside of it, like a succulent garden. But Terry, you know, she listens to the insurance industry and pays attention to it. Do you have any?
My point is the resources for people to see that
Okay,
it can look nice and resources. I'm from the Forest Service too. I did burned area emergency rehab for decades. I know what it looks like after a fire.
Sorely needed to have some image that's not a firefighter making a landscaping, because that's what a lot of these are. And also it's like hardscapers. And I'm not sure how those photos come out, but they look to me like it was a hardscaper that did the landscaping, and they might have a little curve to the sidewalk. Or they might have put a slightly different color rock. And I agree with you, it's not gonna get us there because the public doesn't respond, I think. Some people respond to data and some do not. And what we don't have is the images of houses burning from 0 to 5 feet. We have some test demonstrations, which are sort of bland feeling. And I just really want to encourage the fire departments to find a building and do a test burn and let something start, because the gut reaction isn't there, because people are sort of balancing the beauty.
okay, so I'm hearing you now. What you want to see is for us to have examples there.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Okay, that look nice.
So
Okay.
I can tell you at Eschaton, up right there by up where you live, Weiss Brothers has started taking out some of the old plantings, and they have some demonstration gardens in the front of some of the houses. So if you just go up and drive through there, there's probably 4 or 5. I think I've seen them most, like if you go in and you turn to the right and just cruise through, and you can see the ones that have been updated. So the 0 to 5 foot is, it's different colors of rocks and gravel, but they look nice. And there's, you know, they've done a good job, and it's a good place to get some actual visuals of what's really happening.
Yeah, I would add that, sometimes when we see pictures, they're not of this area. And it doesn't look anything like our neighborhoods, right? So it's really hard to relate to. Pictures of zone 0 in LA is not what we're looking at. But little closer to home, I don't know if you're familiar with Marin Fire Safe. They have a book out that has some really nice photographs of what zone 0 can look like. And they're not bare. Now, personally, I would have fewer plants than they have in their pictures, but that's a decision we all have to make.
What I'm hearing is this might be a good future topic for us to have here. And that was going to be my next question is, do people have specific ideas of topics they want to see at future meetings? Well,
Logging private property.
I'm with you on that. We need to see more about, I actually did logging on my private property this year, and I learned a lot about it. So did my other friend, Joanne Drummond. Noted, we will try to get that, because too many trees, I can say it, but if I don't give you solutions, it doesn't matter.
Just get home.
0 specifications are always. Zone 0 specifications are always in flux, and just staying up to date on that.
well, and I don't know if you saw the news that the committee decided to postpone the decision for the zone 0 to March meeting. So there is no final decision coming out.
But that board can debate it all they want. The insurance industry is not debating it. Clear zone 0.
Aren't some companies saying, aren't some companies still saying non-combustible plants are okay, or?
All plants burn unless they're metal, reproduction. Anyway, it sounds like we should have that on a topic. There are lots of debates. Some of us listen in on those, meetings. I've actually spoken at some. But I'll only say the insurance industry, they don't debate. They're not debating.
So your pictures were great. But myself and a lot of folks in our community have small forests. Yeah, you got a 1 acre lot and a third of the acre is forested. And some much thicker than others. So I'm kind of curious, is there a standard for number of trees per forest size? How do you determine what's too much?
You're gonna wanna be the first one to sign up for our webinar in January, because that's the exact thing we're gonna talk about. How do you know what kind of spacing is gonna keep it healthy, et cetera? So, excellent question. Casey's showing a picture of herself as a happy tree.
Fewer than you think.
Fewer than you think.
It's not a question, just a comment. I'm encouraging my, residents, people, my Washington Hill people, to look at their homes on the Google Maps from above, because when I went to the air attack presentation, they said, if we can't see your house from the air, then we might just go to the next house that we can't see. So I thought that was really interesting. So I'm encouraging my people to look at their house on Google Maps and imagine the plane flying over with retardant. Is it going to hit your zero, your first perimeter?
Excellent. But we're gonna end, and before Karen can cut me off, we're trying to sort out our mailing list so people don't get mail they don't want. So if you're a Firewise community leader or you want to get that stuff, please let us know by either emailing us or there's signups in the back. If you only want the newsletter, let us know that. So we want to make sure we're not sending people the wrong thing.
Karen, before you start in, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that even though they did not do presentations tonight, all of our stakeholders are in the back of the room. So if you have any special questions for OES, CAL FIRE, they are here for you. They want to hear from you. Thank you.